phrase maker is used to essentially record a performance you've done on the SPD-S. To use phrase maker, make sure you're in patch mode. Then choose the patch from which you want to record. So in this case we'll use a TR-808. Try some of the samples in this patch. So we'll use that patch bank to record a performance. We'll go into phrase maker by holding the phrase maker key down. You have to hold it for a few seconds. You can hear the click starting in the background. And on my SPD-S it's set to 120 BPM. If you want to change that, we can use the plus and the minus buttons. Got one at a time, or use shift and plus, shift and minus to go down. So we'll set it back to 120 BPM. If we don't like that click, we can use the right arrow all the way. The click level starts at 4 on mine. You can reduce that to 3, 2, 1, and then 0. We'll leave the click level off while we look at some of the options, and then we'll turn it back on before we do the recording. So we'll use our left arrow a few times to go back to where we started from, which was says standby on 120 beats per minute. Use our right arrow. The next option is to quantize. At the moment it's quantized to a 16th note. If you're not familiar with the term quantize, all it's going to do is try and tidy up your performance. So if you're a little bit out with your beats, it will move them to the nearest value. In this case, a 16th note or a semi-quaver. If you want to change the value of the quantize, you can use the minus and plus buttons. So it will go, if we go right the way to the beginning, it goes from a quaver to a quaver triplet, to a semi-quaver, to a semi-quaver triplet, and to a demi-semi-quaver, and a demi-semi-quaver triplet. Now, if those terms don't mean much to you, let's go back again. We've got an 8th note triplet, 16th note triplet, or a 32nd note, and a 32nd note triplet. So you can change the quantized value, and then when you do your performance, the SPD-S will snap each of the beats to the nearest value you've set. If you don't want it to quantize at all, you can use the plus button one more time and it will go to off, and the SPD-S will then record exactly what you play, mistakes and all. We'll choose quantize to a 16th note or a semi-quaver. Then we'll use our right arrow to go to loop length. At the moment this will record a 1 bar loop, but you can change that with the plus and minus keys to a 2 bar, 4 bar, whatever you want. We'll just have a 1 bar loop. Use your right arrow again, and you can choose the number of beats in a bar. At the moment it's set to 8, but we can change that using the minus and plus keys to anything you like. Right arrow again, and we're back to the click level. So now we're ready to make our performance, so I'm going to turn the click level back on. Move the click level up to 3, I think that's quite loud enough. Then we use the left arrow to go back to the start to standby. Now all we need to do to make our recording is to start hitting the pads, and the SPD-S will start recording immediately. So here we go. You can hear that the SPD-S will just keep repeating our performance, and we can add new things this time. You can hear I've missed out one beat there, so we'll put it in this time. And you can go on layering more and more pads on. You just have to bear in mind that the SPD-S has a maximum number of voices it can reproduce at any one time. So if you try to have too many pads going at once, some of them will drop out. We'll try one more thing. Okay, that'll do for the performance. When we're happy with that, we just need to press the stop button. If we're not sure, we can go back and hear it again by pressing the play button. Stop it again. I'm sure I'm happy with it, so I'm going to press the resample button here. And it's asking me what gain I want to put on. Do I want to reduce the overall volume of the performance? But in this case I don't. I'll press the right arrow, and it's asking me what mode do I want to record this in, stereo or mono. Well, because of what it is, in this case I'll keep with mono, but you could change that by using the plus button to go to stereo, minus back to mono again. Press the right arrow again, and it's asking us what quality do we want to use for this particular sample. Is it going to be standard, or might use the minus button there to long, or the plus button again up to fine. We've discussed the different qualities in a different video, so we won't go into it here. We'll just use standard. We're going to press the right arrow again, and it's asking us where do we want to store that particular performance. Well, we'll store it on our cards. We'll press the card button, and it's given us the first empty slot, in this case 22. Press the right arrow again. It says resample, are you sure? We'll press enter, because we are. Usual twirling lights on the front of the SPD-S while it works it out. It's then saying write, and it's asking you for a name. We can name that particular sample in the same way we do with everything else, using the plus and minus buttons and the left and right arrows. So we'll just keep this as wave 22. Press enter. It will say now writing and complete. We can test that it's recorded our performance correctly by hitting any of the pads. We'll stop that. Now that that sample's been recorded, you can change it in the same way you change any other sample. You can name it, reverse it, loop it, and do whatever you like. There is one important consideration when you're using the phrase maker though. If you're recording from samples in a patch which has effects applied to it, the SPD-S will not record the effects when you're using the phrase maker. We can demonstrate that by going to patch mode, choosing a different patch. Let's try something like industry. Now normally industry has the effects on, so you can hear the samples play like this. That's all very well, but if you take the effects off, they sound like this. And that's how the phrase maker will record them. And we can demonstrate that quickly by turning the effects back on, going to the phrase maker, and we'll record a very, very quick performance. We'll just stop that. We'll use the resample key, ignore the gain, yeah, mono's fine, standard mode's fine. Put it in the card in the next empty slot, which in this case is 30. Press right again, resample, yep. And let it write to the SPD-S. We won't bother renaming it, so we'll just press enter. And you'd think you would get that compressed industrial sound normally because that's how it sounded when we did the performance. However, when you actually play it back, you can hear the effects have actually been ignored when the SPD-S has recorded your performance. So what you would have to do is once you've actually recorded that sample, you'd have to then apply the industrial effect that you had in the first place. So to recap, the SPD-S is only actually using the underlying samples to record its performance. It's not actually applying any of the effects that were applied to those samples. We'll be covering how you apply effects to samples in a different video.